We have today too many secrets and too few sparks. We are controlling too much information, we're enclosing knowledge, and we're preventing the spread of ideas, valuable ideas, that could spark new innovation, more creativity, and more inventiveness. Now, I've been studying these questions, researching sparks and secrets, how we balance them, for over a decade. And I look at these questions from multiple perspectives. So I look at the business and management side, psychology and economics, history and geography, and law and policy. I look at all the ways in which we control these days the flow of knowledge: intellectual property, patents, trade secrets, copyright, trademark, non-competes, non-disclosure agreements. And I want to share with you that we are off balance today. I want to talk to you about how we got here, about being off balance in our mix of secrets and sparks. But first, I want to share a little secret of my own with you. My very first real career was as a military intelligence commander. That meant that I was very much trained in keeping secrets. I would write caption on every analysis that I ever circulated to my superiors, top secret. And when I would come home in the weekend, my friends and family would ask me, "Orly, what have you done all week?" And I would look at them coolly, and I would give them the line that was cool back then. I would say, "I could tell you, but then I would have to kill you." That was cool back then, but in all seriousness, I was very good at keeping secrets, and I can tell you that still today I'm quite good at keeping secrets secret. And that's the key, because something very interesting happened during those years in the military. We had a clear idea of the kind of information that we're keeping enclosed, but the military was training us in a lot of different things. We were learning languages and communication and politics and geography, and we were learning computer programming and life sciences, physics. We were forming networks, and all of those, all that wealth of knowledge and networks, we were actually encouraged to use later on in our future endeavors. And in fact, some of the world's most renowned companies today, you can trace back their origins to those years in the military intelligence, to those teams and friendships and ties and knowledge that we formed. Times have changed. We have lost that idea of secrets are kept secret and all the rest is in the public domain. We are at a moment in which talented programmers work in the industry. Sergey Aleynikov, an MIT grad, works for many years in computer programming. And the day he wants to leave his employer, Goldman Sachs, he is arrested by the FBI. He is prosecuted under the Federal Economic Espionage Act and convicted and sentenced for 8 years of prison. His crime? He had emailed himself some work product. He never opens those files. There's no compelling story, no compelling evidence that he ever intended to use any of that email, any of that information, and yet this results in criminal conviction and prison time. And we're at a moment in which a self-proclaimed hacktivist, and indeed a true hacktivist and a true believer in the freedom of information, in the importance of knowledge to be accessible to all, Aaron Swartz, downloads some scientific documents, journals that we all want to read from the MIT website. He puts it for the public to use, to have access to it in the public domain, and that is his crime. He is, again, prosecuted, and he faces prosecution that could result in up to 35 years of prison. The tragic story of Aaron is that while awaiting prosecution, he takes his own life. We're also at a moment in which the FBI is in fact telling us that the risk of spreading knowledge, the risk of ideas and information spread within the United States and elsewhere, outside the United States, into the world, into all other countries, is as dangerous as the risk of terrorism. Think about it. We are, in fact, using the metaphor of terrorism to warn against the flow of knowledge. We are also at a moment in which some of the companies that we are most admiring, or at least 10 years ago, 2 decades ago, were the most innovative of our communities, of our industries, our high tech. Take Apple and Samsung. These days, there's a flip in how much they're investing in innovation. They're actually now investing more in protecting and enclosing their existing innovation than they are in creating new research and development. There's actually a flip in the numbers. And all of us in the room right now, we are facing a reality that anything that is created right now, this year, any creative expressions, whether it's music or art or literature, none of us will see it in our lifetime in the public domain. Because copyright in its current form, after several rounds of extensions, lasts to infinity and beyond from a human perspective. So it lasts lifetime plus 70 years. Imagine that. What all of these developments are running counter is the mounting evidence that we have today in the research. In my empirical research, in my experimental research, we are finding again and again what John Steinbeck understood intuitively, that ideas are like rabbits. You put a couple of them in the room, you learn how to handle them, and pretty soon you have a dozen more. More bluntly, less poetically, recently researchers say ideas have sex with each other. And in my own research, I call it knowledge spread is power. Not just knowledge in the abstract is power, it's really knowledge that is spread that gives us the next steps in progress in arts and sciences. Now, companies are thinking about this, and they understand that they're stagnating in their innovation. So this is in Seoul, Korea. A few months ago, I was invited by Samsung to talk to them about how they can reestablish themselves as leaders of innovation and stop being in that deadlock of preventing others from copying whatever is already out there in inventiveness. We have wonderful examples today. We have these glimmers of hope in our industries. So recently, Elon Musk announced that Tesla is opening up all of its patents, all of its knowledge and technology. It's opening up for its competitors to use too. Because if we want to build electric cars, if we're committed to that, he understands intuitively that we need to share that knowledge and have the industry move more rapidly together. That's what we see in the science, that industries move much more rapidly when the knowledge is flowing within. Competitors are sharing their knowledge. And he understands that it's actually loose lips that build chips. Or in this case, they build the electric car, right? Loose lips build electric cars. And these questions, they're not just important for individual inventors, individual artists, entrepreneurs, firms, businesses, and industry. They're important for all of us as citizens, as countries. They have a global dimension to them. So very recently, I was invited to the United Nations. This is in Vienna, in the United Nations headquarters in Austria, to work and collaborate with other scientists in understanding what is it that makes regions creative, makes them grow, makes them progress and invent. And we find, coding for all of these different indicators of growth and inventiveness and human capital, that it's really those places that understand the role of flow of knowledge, that don't think about the flow of knowledge as terror, that welcome foreigners, that welcome engagement and increase their density of networks within and without, those are the countries, those are the regions that are winning the innovation wars. Connectivity wins us the global talent wars, not otherwise. And what these findings are showing us is something that's been a puzzle for economists for many, many decades, centuries really. We call it in economics the puzzle of excess genius. What is it that makes some places so bubbling with energy, with inventiveness? Why are these moments in history or places around the world, why do they seem so exciting and genius? If you think about 15th century Florence during Leonardo's times, and Shakespearean time London, and today, we know if you want to create music, you go to Nashville, right? If you want to be part of the movie industry, you go to Hollywood. You don't isolate yourself. You go to where the action is. And here in California, if you want to be part of the high-tech community, you go to Silicon Valley, and you come here to Southern California for the biotech industry, for pharmaceuticals, for the life sciences. You need that density. What is it that these regions have that make them so exciting? T.S. Eliot said that the great ages did not have more talent in them. They simply wasted less. And these regions understand how to waste less of our knowledge and our human capital. These regions think about the resources, the intellectual resources that we have, like we think about physical resources and common assets that we have physically. So we need transportation, we need parks, we need all these places in which we engage, but we also need to think about all of this intellectual wealth that we have, the networks, as a common resource, as a common pool. Looking forward, I think what we need to be thinking is where we're going as human progress is committed to more innovation and getting to the next steps, not in closing, but creating next steps in arts and science and technology. How do we think about it? How do we shift back to the right balance between secrets and sparks? What I think is useful looking forward is to think about a very ancient story. 2,000 years ago, we had that legend of the Tower of Babylon. So the Tower of Babylon was a moment where humankind was about to reach the heavens. There was so much energy and so much creativity that nothing would stop us. When were we stopped? What was the greatest curse of all? When we were no longer able to exchange knowledge, to speak to each other. And when we think about today's towers, when we think about building electric cars, sustainable energy, if we want to print limbs with 3D printers, if we want to cure diseases that have been thought of as uncurable for so many centuries, if we want to create a next generation of Shakespeare's and Leonardo's, we need to remember what the literature and the science and our research is showing us again and again. That it's knowledge, spread, which is power, loose lips is what will build ships, and connectivity is what will win us the talent wars. Thank you.